Welcome everyone to another episode of The Terrain Studio. I'm your host, Sean Morris. Today on the Terrain Studio update, I thought I'd just bring you guys a little progress report on the Foy table and on some of the sample road sections that I've been working on. So today I was working on finishing up the drawing, which I did finish. I think there's a video should be up by now about that. But then I went into doing some sample pieces for the road, or what I perceive to be the sample roads that I'll be using on the project itself. So to start off, I just laid out the products here before you kind of give you an idea of what I've been working on and what I was working with. So I started off with this product here. It's called Dark Earth. This is a product. It's a Vallejo product. It's a gritty paste. It's an acrylic resin, and just straight out of the bottle, it has a nice coloration. And so I've used this as my base layer. So I didn't mix in any grit. Usually I do mix in some grit. But I went about doing this in a slightly different method. So I laid this down about maybe 2 or 3 millimeters thick for the road base. You don't want to go too thin because it will crack. So you need to have a little bit of, it does have some resiliency to it, but you need to have a little bit of depth so you have a substantial base to work with. So I laid that right out of the base, right out of the bottle, right onto the baseboard. And then what I did is I gave it a few minutes to set up. I set it about 3 inches wide because that's going to be roughly what the roads are going to be. Then I went ahead and used some talus. So this is a Woodland Scenics product here. And this is just a light stone. It's a very lightweight rock. And I sprinkled that on there. And then I went over the base with, again, another Woodland Scenics product. This is a medium grit ballast, so I just sprinkled that on as well to add some texture, but I did that on the top layer as opposed to mixing it all throughout, because mixing it throughout kind of creates some air pockets and then can actually weaken your base structure. So I went ahead and added that to the top. After I let it set up for probably about 25 minutes, I did use a hairdryer to sort of speed up the process, but you're going to want to let it set up a little bit if you're going to add the next feature. And what that is it's the texture marks, the tire tracks and the tank treads and things like that. So I'm just going to go ahead and zoom in. Hopefully this will cooperate for me. And there we go. So as you can see, I've laid in some track marks, hopefully you guys can see, and some wheel marks and various other features. And what I did with that is I just set myself up a couple jigs. So I just took some old tank tracks from, I think this is maybe from a Luke or something like that. And I just put two together to make a wider track, and I set it up on a popsicle stick to use as a stamp, like basically a stamp or a stencil. So I laid it and I roll it and then I move it ahead, and I just put in the track layers where I want them. So as opposed to wrecking an entire tank to do that. I also took another set that I had and I created a different jig. I put this on slightly wider part, for small tanks or half tracks, things like that. And again, I set it up on popsicle sticks, and I can just use it as a stamp or even to run it right through. If you're running it right through, you don't get the defined tread marks, but if you stamp it and roll it, you'll get some more defined tread. So as you can see, that's what I kind of achieved there. You can also kind of pick out the ballast layers I was talking about. And the third one I made was this popsicle stick jig here, and this is to simulate tire tracks. So again, this one here you can run through if you're going to, make wagon marks or, the front wheels of a half track or a Jeep or similar vehicles. So I just go ahead and run those through. You got to do that, importantly, when the ballast is already partially dry. If you try to attempt to use this too early, what will happen is your treads will get all gunked up, and you'll pull up a lot of the ballast or the base material. So you got to let it set up, like I said, and then you can stamp it in. You get more defined features, as you can see right here. So it is handy to have a toothbrush, and as you work, you just keep scrubbing those tank treads out so you don't wreck your treads by getting them all filled full of paste. Then what I did is I put some puddle marks. I did a fingerprint for that one, and then I just left the other ones a little more natural. Because again, this is going to be for a winter board, so I'm going to simulate some puddles, but I wanted to make the puddles ice pools. So this will should clear up, and you should be able to pick up some of the defined details below, but it's not there yet. So I'll get back to you on the final results of that. But so far, I think it's going to look pretty good, I think. If I just zoom out here, I'll just show you what I did for those, or the products that I used anyways. So I went ahead and used some realistic water, Woodland Scenics product here. Pretty pricey stuff, so you want to make sure if you are doing a sample or a test piece that you just pick a small area to start with. But realistic water right out of the bottle. Make sure you don't shake it up. You'll keep the air bubbles down to a minimum. So I put that into just a little mixing cup here, a little toothpick as a stirring stick, and then I use some of the white pigment. You could just use white paint if you want, but I just happen to have the earth color on hand, so I was using, obviously you don't, it's pricey stuff to be using, but this is a pigment, so it's very heavy, heavy white. So just one drop, I just filled the cup just up a little bit with the realistic water, and then you go ahead and stir it, and the more you stir it, the more it mixes in, but you don't have to stir it that much. Again, stirring does take away some of the bubbles. So after I stirred that up, I just went ahead and poured that straight into the puddles as you see here, and I just let it set. I just sort of used my breath and I blew it around a little bit to get in some of the crevices, so it's laying flat. You don't want to have it, with a meniscus on it at all. You want to make sure it spreads out. And then once it's all spread out, basically just going to leave it dry. This is starting to set up. It's not quite there yet. It's still a little flexy, but that's where I'm leaving the road. So hopefully you guys can get a sort of a good look at that anyways, and maybe you guys can comment just about the overall look of the road itself. So again, this is a very small portion. I got a lot going on in this little piece, so maybe I won't necessarily have so many puddles or so close together, but I just wanted to sort of use all the features of the road together. So appreciate you guys' comments, and if you want to suggest some stuff, go ahead. And like I said, this is just a sample piece, and I can make some changes, and we'll go from there. So I'll see you guys in the next video, and thanks for watching. Cheers.